everyone, I want to talk about a quick thing of why you need to lift heavy every 3-ish weeks. By defining heavy, we're talking about 85 to 90% of your 1 rep max. Anywhere between, some people say 2 to 5 sets. I'm just going to sort of narrow it down to 3 to 4 sets every 3-ish weeks. And you may be thinking, well, why? Why do I need to lift that heavy? And ultimately, why every 3-ish weeks? Well, ultimately, we have to think about what we need it for, or what we're trying to do. And I'll get to that in a little minute. So why every 3-ish weeks? Well, ultimately, it's because strength tends to stick, and it has a residual duration of around about 30 days, give or take 5 days. So if you have a base strength line that you have built up and that enables you to be able to jump a certain height, kick with a certain amount of power, move with a certain amount of speed, then it's not just going to stay there by just simply performing your usual martial arts shenanigans. You need to actually keep that strength topped off. One of the fastest things that drops off without activity is power, but strength and everything else tends to stick better, but you have to do something about that. So why don't we actually have a look at a typical year? So here's my terribly drawn sort of annual calendar. It's not the prettiest, but it's good enough for illustration. So obviously in the winter time, I'm just sort of being I'm generalizing from my own experience when the competitions tend to be, when people tend to sort of take their foot off the gas and relax and all of that sort of stuff. So from November, late November, February, sometimes into December, there tends to be a little bit less activity in terms of competition or demands in that sort of nature where you have to focus on something. It tends to be a little bit more, or even gradings, you tend to be a bit more, let's train, let's polish things up, and let's refine. And this is one of the really good times to work on your overall level of strength and think, right, throughout, let's say we just, we finish 1 year, we look back on the year, we think, okay, throughout the first half of the year, I was really struggling with X, Y, Z, and then I noticed that there's some other problems in this year. So that forms the basis of how you're going to really strength train in this period to plug those gaps and filling those weaknesses, so that come next year, you're not just simply hoping for better performance, but you've actually worked on something tangible to actually bring that forward. So ultimately, when you get into the competition season, that's more of the focus. You're going to be practicing more of your patterns, more of your sparring, all that sort of stuff. So strength training tends to take a back seat. So that doesn't mean that you should just throw it all out the window. Like we said, if we actually zoom out here and remind ourselves, only every 3-ish weeks, because strength tends to stick. So whatever strength you build up in here, which you really should do, you only need to, once a month, pretty much, make sure that you lift heavy throughout the main lifts, such as squat, press, pull, pull up, and so on. And the strength that you have built up will hang on throughout the competition season, rather than going a good 4, 5, 6 months and then things just begin to start tapering off. And of course, July tends to be a time when people may go away for three weeks-ish. So that's another time where you can actually really just rest throughout the middle of the year and then come on strong for the final part of the year. And here again, you just need to make sure that you are lifting heavy every 2 to 3 weeks. And that's all you need to do to keep your strength baseline. So when you come to this period again, you want to again thinking, right, how can I improve on any weaknesses I had or picked up on throughout this year? It forms the basis of taking yourself up a level in this part. So that's all I have. I know there's a lot of it depends and different considerations and circumstances. There's definitely a case for the fact that people really shouldn't be jumping straight into 80-90% 1 rep max lifts. They're not ready for that yet. But there are a lot of people who are and are not taking advantage of this simple low-hanging fruit, just keeping their residual strength hanging on throughout the year. That's all from me. I hope it helps. And if you've got any questions, drop me a line.